All right, welcome back into the metaverse. Today we're going to dive into move to earn, what that might mean in the overall metaverse, how gaming and gamification works on the whole idea of fitness, and how cryptocurrency might play a role in that. It's going to be an interesting one. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back to Metaverse Insider. Today joining me is Yawn, Rong, who is the co-founder. You know them as STEPN, and we've talked about them here on the show quite a bit. But Yawn, great to have you on the show.
Hey, thank you. Thank you to be here. Yeah.
Excellent. Let's dive into a little bit about, for our new users and maybe some of our experienced metaverse enthusiasts, to first learn a little bit about STEPN, the organization, what you guys look like in terms of team size, what you guys are attempting to do over there.
Sure. So a bit of intro about STEPN. STEPN is a Web3, we call it lifestyle app, meaning that it's not only have the GameFi perspective, but also we're going to introduce social, and also we're trying to build a more of a meta structure, like infrastructures that we have to having Web2 people onboarding to the Web3. So that's one of our mission. Plus, we're trying to get people moving outside, get them healthier, and plus portion of the profit goes to carbon offsetting.
So, okay, so gamification has been something that has started to really surface in a lot of the crypto assets that we've started to track here on Metaverse Insider. Obviously, STEPN being one of the key ones in Move to Earn. We've seen a lot of different variations on Play and Earn out there when it comes to that. When you look at the global market space of fitness, lifestyle in general, what was it that really kind of attracted STEPN to go in this direction for not only the app itself, but also kind of the overall model of what STEPN means?
I think the first model was really simple. We're trying to build a GameFi project. So we wasn't really thinking too much, but as we progress, you always can consider the project as a living organism, right? So we constantly evolving and adapt. So we start off by trying to make a GameFi, then we realize GameFi is very short-lived. So we move away from that. We remove a lot of a game element. We try to sort of having a game-like app so that we can approach to a broader audience. And then we realized that there was more social element that people are talk about this, right? So then we're thinking, awesome, that we're gonna move on to the social. So instead of just creating a GameFi project, we're actually trying to create a game-like app, and then on top of that, a social platform, and then on top of that, we're trying to build other set of infrastructures that will taking Web2 people onboarding to Web3. And recently we actually put out the tweet today that we are now pioneer the realm system, which we can talk about that later.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you look at I think the market space, anytime we look at utility aspects, especially around metaverse or any type of gamification projects, one of the key things we look at is how big is the market? What's the market look like? Obviously, with traditional gaming, we kind of know what that looks like. When you look into move to earn space, I mean, obviously that gets into the fitness era, gets into a lot of factors around the surrounding economies that kind of hold up the traditional aspect of business when it comes to that. There's been a lot of numbers. I was just looking at some of the notes here, which kind of surprised me. 81% of people motivated to stay fit earning cryptocurrency. This is a recent research. 3 in 4 people interested in signing up for gym memberships with cryptocurrency. Are you guys doing any kind of research that is leading you into kind of this direction? Are you finding more and more opportunity here from an overall standpoint, or is this really more a mission to create a kind of a new sector for cryptocurrency in the move to earn space?
I think ultimately we're trying to create an entirely new sector, but the idea was from more of a COVID lockdown, when we had a COVID lockdown in Australia, and apparently people really want to get out when they are locked down in the house, and we've never seen that much people on the street basically, and during the period of lockdown. So that got us thinking, right? This is actually a natural need for people to social and to move outside, and so that was sort of where the idea came from. And as we grow, we can certainly see that it offers tremendous amount of benefit mentally and physically to people. And while we are sort of mingle this with tokenomic, and people actually also benefit from that financially. So it is
Yeah.
like a, it's such a simple concept to explain to people. So you work and you earn money, and that's it. So it's easy for us to get the idea across to people, especially the people that never used or trade cryptos before, right? So you talk to them, if you talk to them like a DeFi or GameFi, they're really not into this. But you tell them that you take this mobile, go out for a walk, and you can buy groceries with that, right? So you can do all sort of things, and people get it, and people will, and most importantly, what happens? We have the Web3 people totally get it, right? So move to earn, play to earn, right? That's natural,
Yeah.
and they will try to almost like recruit their friends and families. Normally, what happens is they get their parents to work and earning, and they got the wife and husband work on earning tokens. And these people will see actually this is a working product. This actually works, and then they will tell their friend. So that's really how we trying to, having this like a fast pace of growing is through the people's credible social network. If I tell like a stranger that you can move and earn token, they're gonna think this is a scam. But if it's your close one, right? It's like a close contact, like COVID, right? If it's close one, then they believe it, and they take on this idea quite quickly.
Yeah, so I'm looking at a Medium post you guys did, really, kind of on the whole aspect of fitness apps on the blockchain. And to your point is that the network effect is something that we have seen, apply in a lot of different tokens. Yours being a utility token that is a little bit different, in the sense of move to earn space. It's kind of, you obviously, I would say STEPN is one of the few that have pioneered it. There obviously are some others out there. If you look at Lifecoin, Sweatcoin, Lympho, ActiveFit, Vleek, there's several that are kind of moving in this direction. Do you see this as a category overall, like in play and earn, becoming a category for whether it's fitness or possibly partnering up with fitness brands, sneaker companies, et cetera, in the future? Do you feel like this is going to become an industry in the future?
I think this will be actually a quite good hybrid between the traditional fitness company, which have pretty bad monetization model, right? If you talk about like
Mm-hmm.
a Keep, if you talk about Strava, they really struggle at profiting from their users. And talk about gym membership is almost like a way that people are punishing themselves. Let's say I
Right.
subscribe to a gym membership so that I can go, exercise. So we're using a completely different model, right? It's use financial incentives or in token incentives to get people active and motivate them to move outside. So I think, and so this is will be like, how can I say? It's more like fitness 2.0, right? So it
Yeah.
is fitness that taking tokenomics and blockchain and NFTs and making the hybrid of industry, where
Yeah.
this industry can monetize through various of opportunities, sponsorship, let's say advertising, right? So there are many ways that people will be able to earn the benefit we create as a platform, right? So we will talk about this actually a couple months before, talk about that STEPN as a platform. We were at the time we were talking about like in the future if people want to access it premium, right? So we talk about like premium users that they can afford $1,000 worth of sneakers. They have a fitness habit and they know cryptos. And
Yeah.
naturally, an NFT project or a token project want to access this group of people. They're going to do airdrop to them, right? And they're going to do through us, and they're going to actually provide benefit to our users. So we become almost like an aggregator for value
Yeah.
creations.
Right. Okay. So first of all, what blockchain are you guys running on?
So we are currently running on two. One's on Solana and the other is on the BNB chain.
Okay. So is there a plan to make it multi-chain, or are you looking to maybe zero in on a specific chain application?
This is already multi-chain. This is already multi. So BNB and Solana. What we are
In,
trying to, yeah, BNB chain, yeah.
yeah. So
And
which one would
yeah,
you
go ahead.
say is the better potential for you to, grow the platform on?
Okay, so we start off Solana, right? We the Solana hackathon winner for the last year in the gaming track, and what we trying to do here is now I think it's better time for me to explain the realm system. So the realm system is something that we created. Um, we start with using the BNB chain. So traditionally, right? If you have a GameFi project and it attract attention and people FOMO in and push the asset price, push the token price off the roof, and then as the project become unsustainable and things starting to cool off, and then we starting to see the bell shape of token
Right.
prices and also NFT asset prices. And this is typical, right? And especially with GameFi because game have a lifespan and everything else have a lifespan. So in a traditional business world, right? So when you are heading toward the end of the life cycle of that industry, for example, if you are manufacturing a MT3,
Yeah.
you'll be dead in the 21st century. And what else can you do, right? So you revitalize at the end of your product life cycle or at the end of your industry life cycle, and you get into a different shape and you continue morph. It's like a Nokia, right? Nokia used to produce like a bullet and
Yep.
rubber stuff, and then they make mobile phones, right? So the realm is the same analogy. So we have the Solana chain. Solana chain grow. We have over 500,000 users, and then we create BNB chain, and then BNB chain now having crazy adoptions, right? So the token prices of the GIC is about 10 times more than the Solana chain. So we're starting to see Solana people migrating to the BNB chain, and then we're gonna have another chain or another server. You can consider it almost like a server. So I can have, let's say, 10 realms on Solana chain. I can have 10 realms on the BNB chain.
Right. Right.
And we will be able to almost like having people bid for sponsorship, right? It could be anything. It could be let's say a NFT project. It could be a health authority in a nation, right? It could be a sneaker brand. It could be anything. So they
Yeah.
will be able to specify what is in that realm. It could be a NFT sneaker. It could be anything they want, right? They could be like a gym membership card, right? So they specify what. So but the underlying GMT is all the same, and meaning that people will be the people that are risk taker, right? They will move to the new realm and to take advantage of that. And the old realm I'll be using because people using old realm because the energy are shared across the platforms. So people are better having a lot of sneaker at the older realm and exploring on the new realm. And then you're starting these flywheels. And
Okay.
every time
So
you think this is the end life cycle of that realm, you have another one.
right. You would cycle out. Sure. All right. So I want to take a break for one of our sponsors today, and that is AngelBlock. And the way you can find them is go to angelblock.io. Now, their overall plan is really designed around fundraising for seed startups in the blockchain space, but they're doing this through an NFT drop, which they are actually dropping today. So there's a lot happening within it. For AngelBlock investors, bonuses will enable higher limits, priority access to exclusives. For startups, it's going to give bonuses for startups, more raise options, access to A and B support, community tools, all things like that. And for community members, when you own one of these NFTs, bonuses are going to happen with quest rewards, multipliers, voting power, etc. A lot happening around the NFT side of things, so make sure and take a look at the NFT launch, which happens on the 24th. So if you're catching this on the day of the launch, great, you're going to get a chance to get into it. Make sure and track that. You can literally visit their website, which is just angelblock.io, but also go to nft.angelblock.io and you'll be able to get a chance to take a look at the NFTs. So make sure and check out AngelBlocks for a new NFT launch and really kind of supporting an ecosystem for lending in the future of blockchains. Let's talk about just the tokenomics, because this is something that I think a lot of people, and there has been some challenge to many of these kinds of move to earn projects out there as the tokenomics aren't sustainable, that eventually at some point this could spin down. Explain your tokenomics, how this has sustainable, motives within it in terms of a long-term opportunity here?
Okay, so what we are having here is an infinite supply of GST, which is the game token, which you use it
Hmm.
for minting, your labeling lab, etc., repair. So we have a much more use cases, for example, versus Axie. And then you have a finite supply of the GMT. And
Right.
GMT, as you know, that they are shared across different realms. So GMT are shared on the BNB chain and on the Solana chain, but GST
Right.
is not. So the only issues here is people are accusing what happens if GST price goes to zero, right? Because
Hmm.
everybody having the max level sneakers and they will just dump
Yep.
GMT to the ground. And this is happening on Axie, right? And this is because Axie doesn't allow majority of the users to earn the ASX, which will allow majority of users to earn the GMT. And the GMT earning will be only start once 13% of the GMT are burned. Let's give an example. Let's say 50% of GMT are burned. Then we allow people to earn GMT. And this means
Mm.
we will go through a sharp deflationary supply and then very gradual of inflation by people to move to earn GMTs. You're probably going to take years for GMT to the total supply number to go back to the 10%, which is now no longer 10%, but let's say 10%, which was the circulating supply where it first came
Yeah.
out. 600 million token were supplied in March, and we have burned about 120 million token already. So those 100 million token are burned through minting, through different use cases of GMT in the app.
Yeah.
So we
Okay.
are talking
So
about, yeah, go ahead.
no, I see what you're saying, in terms of the overall aspect of how the tokenomics work itself. And I would agree to a certain extent that there are some benefits to that. At some point, though, wouldn't that cycle out to where the value of GST would essentially would go down to zero, and you could run into the same problem that Axie is kind of facing right now?
But so this is the thing that we're trying to make the GST earning irrelevant. Let's say, for example, in an extreme situation, right? The GMT price
Hmm.
is much higher. Why
Hmm.
even you bother to earn GST? Because you have to make the choice, right? You make the choice. At level 30, when you hit the max level of sneakers, you make a
Right.
choice to earn the GST or earn GMT.
So
You
what would
see,
be the
if the
purpose of
GMT price is high,
GST? Yeah, what would be the purpose of GST if in fact we see that in a deflationary model already? And why not just go to a GMT model where you have a fixed number of
because
tokens
yeah,
and the valuation would be what I think it's is it 6 billion or 6 million?
uh, because you need the GST as a bridge, right? So people will not start with so when you get people started, right, you can't get them to start to earn GMT, right? That's sort of the governance token. You can't have people to earn
Okay.
that lightly. So you have this transition period from level 0 to level 30. People
Hmm.
need the GST to level, and people always need GST to repair. So GST is not something that is useless, right? You need GMT to
Okay.
mint. You need GMT to upgrade your gems. You need GST for a whole various of reasons. So the idea is to have people earning GST and GMT at a price equilibrium, right? So
I got you.
people earning GMT, if because GMT have a finite supply, meaning that you have more people earning GMT, each person will earn less. And
Hmm.
when they earn less, they will say, I rather to earn GST. So they switch over to earn GST. And when they earn
Interesting.
GST, less people are earning GMT. It's like Bitcoin minings, right? So this is like um, like a difficult bomb, right? So with
Right.
a BM with a Bitcoin minings.
Hmm.
So people are constantly jumping between earning GST and GMT, which the price will stabilize.
Yeah, I think for utility basis that would make sense, and especially but as long as the valuation still is there, if it is becoming, because there's a lot of games out there that obviously have certain assets, whether it's NFTs or other things that don't have or go down to a zero value, but the real use case potential is more in the utility side of it as opposed to the monetary side. So I would
Yeah.
understand that. I want to get into. Go ahead. You were going to make a point.
Yes. So I have to make a point because this is different from GameFi because
Hmm.
we take a much longer time to train users, and meaning that once they have the benefit of exercising regularly outdoors, right, their brain will be have a habit, right, with have endorphin,
Right.
serotonin, all these hormone that give you sort of what is called runner high. So you
Hmm.
will want to keep exercising when you are in this routine, meaning that they will be fundamentally different compared to GameFi when you're sitting from the computer and play or grind. And when you grind through exercising, you are actually much happier. And meaning that people will use STEPN regardless, or majority of people will use STEPN regardless of the token price,
Yeah.
because they already have the habit of exercise. So
Yeah,
meaning
I
that
would
they
agree.
will be a yeah, yeah.
There's a psychological effect there, the aspect of addictive natures, but in gaming, you have that. A lot of people look at gaming, and some people look at gaming not as a grind, but more as a true fun time that is very addictive in the terms of the gaming aspect, depending on the game. If it's into a true play and earn, then it usually means it's going to be fun. Granted, on the fitness side of things, there's a lot of psychology around this that has been studied over years that really kind of lean into that. So I would agree with you to a certain extent. I'm kind of curious though, in something like move to earn, there's always going to be that question of is it valid? Because a good example is right now there's many apps out there within the health ecosystem that track into, like for instance, the Apple activity apps that you basically it's treasure or it's marking steps. Those steps go toward reducing your health cost in a lot of healthcare scenarios. That's something that's done here in the US quite a bit. And the problem with it is there's a couple of loopholes and hacks within the system where people are cheating. So essentially, they're just adding more steps to their gain to create more steps for the overall use case in the month to get their discount on their healthcare. What are you guys doing to avoid those kind of things since we're talking about a monetary gain here?
Okay. So anti-cheating, we spend around 50%, more than 50% of our time on the anti-cheatings. And if there is mass cheatings of the ecosystem, will already be collapsed, right? So, but we're running
Yeah,
fine, and
exactly.
we have built a series of anti-cheating mechanics at the back end to pick up the cheaters, and basically they will not have any yield. So
How do you
we
go about
have
that?
a
What's what
we
what are some of
actually
the
we
flags
will
that say, "Hey, that's a
I
cheater"?
hope yes. There will be um what can I say? We collect users gyroscope data. So we are not gonna just simply collect health data, right, from the Apple Google Health, because that is
Right.
very easily to be cheated, right? Because
Yes.
they don't care about anti-cheatings, right? So human motion, when you move, you are actually move forward, and also you move up and down if you're
Hmm.
thinking about motion. And human motion have very distinct pattern, and each person's motion also have a very distinct pattern, right? Your elevation of your mobile, and your swing of your arms, and your pace, and also the GPS. So we use three sort of main data, basically your GPS and your gyroscope in the mobile phones, and then
Yep.
we compare these two, see does it make sense, right?
Yep.
Um, if you are moving at abnormal speed at a wrong sort of mobile elevation, and we've seen, we actually have a like a squad team basically just to try to crack
Yeah.
the anti-cheating system ourselves. And many elaborate people thinking that they are able to crack it, but so the most elaborate way to crack basically is that once you remove the GPS module of the mobile phone, and then you trying to actually run for, let's say, 10 kilometers, and then you tweak this running data a little bit, and then you use GPS spoofing along with this like a tweaked data, and you basically what is called like a replay attack. So basically you replay this section of running every time, trying to trick the system, but you wouldn't be able to do it. So
That that's
yeah.
interesting that you guys have one, you're developing, that technology, because I think that could be something you could license to a lot of different industries in the future, especially in the healthcare industry, because that is something that has become a big factor for reducing rates, things of that nature. So interesting that you guys are going to that level. Obviously, with 500,000 users, that you could see millions of users globally. So you're going to be getting a tremendous amount of data in the future. When you look at the amount of data that you're hauling in, are there any other aspects of that data that could be utilized to benefit STEPN as a whole in terms of future opportunities?
Okay, so actually we are hitting about 800,000 users, and with users' data, we are actually quite cautious that we have to be desensitized user data, and also we have
Sure.
to be complied with a lot of the rigorous Apple and Google rules of how to
Yep.
collect user data and be complied with their privacy requirement, which is sort of a lengthy one. So monetizing on user data, I think, is not something we are doing. And or if we are gonna do it, that has to be with users' consent, right? So
Sure. Sure.
ultimately, what I can see possibly in the future will be if you're going to, let's say, if you walk from your home to like a ice cream shop, right? And you can sort of get a redeem like an ice cream coupon when you are
Hmm.
near this ice cream shop. Basically, it's like more like a Pokemon Go where you
Right.
you are collecting stuff, right? But you will not collect up until you are getting that spot. So that
Hmm.
would be the only way they would think we can utilize some of the
Some of the
potential,
user data. Yeah.
yeah,
Well, I would
because
think
that
though
also
in the
create, yeah,
EULA,
go ahead.
yeah, I would think though in the EULA, I mean, Facebook, obviously, Meta, it has been able to master this in their user licensing, of being able to basically collect all your information, use it for advertising benefit. I would think over time, especially when you're exchanging value for this data, because essentially that's what you're doing, exchanging value. It'd be different, I think, if Facebook turned on a method right now and said, hey, listen, if you let us collect your data, we're going to pay you back in Meta tokens. If that were to happen, I think certain amount of percentage, probably a large percentage of people would, say check that box for user level of information that would be transferred over to the platform. So I think there's some opportunity there
I
for sure,
I I
especially in the
I
fitness
think
space.
Yeah, I think on a Web3 perspective, right? So we'll talk about user data. To my own opinion, that's too Web2, right? So how much you can
Hmm.
make from monetizing user data, pathetic, right?
Yep.
So we are trading at 1.5 billion monthly volume on our NFT marketplace, right? So we don't need that user data monetization, right? We are more interested in creating a token value that can capture users. We're trying to create a
Mm.
ecosystem and communities for user that using the STEPN as a mean of getting healthier, getting greener.
Right.
It's the good stuff there, right? So user data, one, is dangerous to touch user data, right? And two, it doesn't really give you too much compared to what kind of a value we're trying to create, right? People are earning like what, hundreds of thousands of dollars a day. Do they really care about their data got sold for like what, the dollar, $10? Not really.
Yeah. No, I think that's refreshing, because I think the point of Web3 is that the isolation of user data could probably eventually, because of the valuation and utility that platforms can utilize in other methods, could be kind of the future of where it's going. So I would agree with you. There's a lot of other opportunities out there in terms of creating value. I was looking at the this chart right here that kind of goes through the top perceived blockchain technology benefits. More fitness motivation, so this gets into one. Valuable reward programs, so again, back to your point, where you're developing an ecosystem or a community that's got better valuable rewards. More transparency, kind of interesting that this was one of them. And then more confidence when using interactive platforms, and improved privacy and security, which I thought should have been at the top of the list. But back to the point of, we're still working with a Web 2 mindset. Most people still are thinking, what they grew up on, whether it was social media or mobile, and have never really experienced kind of the benefits of what Web 3 might be able to offer. So for sure. Do you agree with any of those numbers?
Yeah, I mean, just going back to the to the privacy. You are literally talk about a decentralized wallet address, right? Nobody
Yeah.
knows
Hmm.
what that address represents. You don't have your real name. There's no gender box.
Yep.
It's just a box. It's like a phantom wallet or it's like a
Yep.
MetaMask wallet, right? You
Hmm.
you create your STEPN wallet, and that's your identity.
Yep. And I think that's, to a certain extent, that's going to be one of the big killer benefits of Web3 in the future. But to some extent, when you get into companies that, because at some point you're going to see some competition that start to really kind of elevate within the move to earn space. Some competitors may go the route of brand, partnerships, which obviously that could be someone like a Nike or a Reebok that could go into the space. Obviously, they're Web 2 companies. They understand how user data could really kind of play into this. Any kind of Web 3 company that may end up in those kind of partnership deals to try to create a global community around something like this. It'll be interesting to see how this kind of goes. Are you doing any kind of partnerships right now with some of the bigger companies that are in the fitness space already?
We partner with ASICS, which is the Japanese sneaker brand.
Yep. Hmm.
Around April, we released 2,000 Genesis sneakers on the BNB chain, and each sneaker now worth about what $40,000, something like that.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
are trading actively on the BNB IGO platform and on our own NFT marketplace. So we are now talking to about 4 top 10 sneaker brands
Mm.
of using the same model, right? So it's a matter of time basically for us to partner with all of them, and then we can branch it out, say, to the luxury brand. We don't have to
Right.
be limited to the sporty brand, right?
Yeah,
Literally
sure.
any brand that come with volume or recognitions that we can partner with.
Yeah, I think, your fashion is going to be play into this in the future, definitely obviously on the sporting side of it for sure. Okay, so that's a good thing because I think as we see more evolution, and the other thing that I think is going to help within a lot of these brands as they start to dive into NFT architectures and what that means for their own branding is they're going to realize the benefits of Web3. They're going to try to seek out companies like a STEPN or projects like a STEPN who are really native to where Web3 is going, because many of these are Web2 that are trying to make that merge into Web3, and that's going to take some time for those to really happen over time. So I think you guys could definitely be one of those that help usher that era in over the next, say, decade or so. When you look at NFTs overall and the roadmap where STEPN is right now, what would be next for you? So we've got, you've got your ASICS partnership, you've got maybe some others things. What are some other NFT application features or roadmap elements that will be released over the next, say, year?
Okay, so a year will be a lot, right? So we literally are about 5 months old project. So um, really what we're trying to build, one is we're gonna take about another 5 to 6 months to finish our game element. So we still have the achievement
Hmm.
system, we have the rental system, notification system. So there's a whole bunch of systems, marathon, um, uh, and we released the minting scroll in the
Yeah.
next 2 weeks. So that's another NFT basically. So the game element should be complete by the end of this year, and then we'll move on to building STEPN as a platform. So we're
Okay.
gonna do it concurrently with the realm system. Basically, we're gonna be um, creating like a separate sort of ecosystem, but all interconnected each other
Mm.
with the GMT,
Right.
and to also release more GMT use cases, right? We have about 11. We are only up to 3. So in the
Mm.
next 3 to 4 months, we will release the rest of 7 or 8 use cases so that people can burn GMT even quicker. And then up to the point where we feel comfortable to start a GMT earning. And when that happened, you're looking at an entirely different um, synergy because now people can only earn GST, right?
Right.
It's
Right.
sort of one way, right? People either hold it or sell it. But once you start to get the GMT involved, then people have to make multiple choices. Do I mint? Which one do I mint today?
Yeah.
And do I spend? And which one should I spend today? So they will constantly sort of uh, optimize and strategize their basic strategies, and that become, I think, even more dynamic when it comes to move to earn, because you are not only earn the tokens, and also you are earn various of other NFTs, and
Hmm.
plus we'll also throw different activities. And on top of that, we also will bring other project into our ecosystem and to do collaborations. And effectively, it is a process of build a community.
Is there, okay, so that's a lot happening. Is there plans for competitions, player to player? I mean, I could think, the element of 10Ks, marathons, et cetera, that, have been, global events worldwide that could eventually roll into something where you could be competing against
We
players
yeah,
all
we
around
are
the
actually
world.
sponsor. We are sponsor about two marathon
Hmm.
this year, and also various of crypto conferences. We have Art Party, and lots of offline event happened. I think there's
Yeah.
about 5 to 10 happened concurrently around the world. So that's a lot of offline event we're doing, basically to bring community together, to bring people offline to meet each other, and rather to chat in the Discord. So
Right.
that is sort of the mission. Yeah.
Yeah. I think,
Yeah.
well, it's going to be interesting because I think the move turn space could explode in the essence of the first of all fitness, and I think just in general lifestyle activity is something that has already been a $1 trillion business. I believe that when you look at a global aspect of it, what it might mean in terms of fashion brands, sports brands, the overall fitness around everything from supplements and all the different industries that have kind of bred off of that. There's a lot happening in that space. This being a new module will be interesting to watch because of the amount of companies that are already playing in this space. They're probably watching this very closely as, a true, beta test to really understand how this might work in the long term. When will codes go away and make this
I
completely
don't think that
public?
will go away for. I mean,
For a while?
activation code is installed for a purpose, right?
Yeah.
So it is installed that because if people log into the app, Web2, absolutely no idea, right? They say, what is
Hmm.
this, right? It's, they don't understand. So you really need somebody to sort of helping you
Walk you through it.
to take
Yep.
it on board, right? Yeah, exactly. So the activation code, it is that system, right? You have to ask a code from existing user, which they 99.9% they should know what they're doing. And if you have any questions, at least you can ask, how do I buy a sneaker, or where does the
Yeah.
transfer happen? So it help people to be taken on board, right? And we do have a period of time where people think they get the activation code, they log in, they will start earning money by walking or running, which is they don't even own an NFT, so that doesn't work. And they
Hmm.
give us 1-star review in the App Store. So we've seen that, and and people still give us 1-star in the App Store because they can't get the activation code. But I mean, there's no win for us in this. But we still feel that people need to be sort of holding their hand and help them
Well,
to be on board.
yeah, and it does create that social network effect that you're talking about, even though to a certain extent, I feel like that in some cases, if you look at how Clubhouse eventually did that, because it was an activation code kind of model for Clubhouse, but they were going head to head with someone like Twitter Spaces, which I think is why Clubhouse did not end up being, truly making it. But they were working on that same model of, social a network effect, trying to bring in groups within groups. And I think to a certain extent right now in the move to earn space, you guys obviously are the leader out there. So it'll be interesting to see how you guys can kind of grow. But at some point, you have to scale. At some point, you have to get to a billion users. And to get to a billion users, either you're going to have a very powerful network effect or you're going to have to open the app up.
Yes, but you have to consider that if there's let's say not million, let's there's a base of 100 million users, they are
Hmm.
generating activation code on daily basis, and you'll be
Yeah,
flat with activation code.
sure.
So the activation code will be one to regulate, because I cannot have like 100,000 people flooding every day.
Right,
Then there won't be
right.
enough sneakers. right?
Yeah,
So people
scaling.
need
Yeah,
to
scaling
pace their
becomes it
speed. Yeah,
for
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah, I completely understand for
And
sure.
once the realm is happened, you will start to
Hmm.
see sticker price will drop, which will enable mass adoptions, right?
Right.
And the risk takers will move on to the newer realm, earning
Hmm.
like whatever they want to earn, taking higher risk and earning higher returns. But for more of a conservative or new users, um, they will be getting to maybe the Solana chain or the BNB chain
Right.
at a relatively lower price, and then they can start experience, and then say they will decide should I move on to the other realm, or I'll
Yeah.
be comfortable stay here, maybe earn $1-2 a day.
Is that when will the realms be available? Like at scale?
So let's say in another couple months, we'll having our
Okay,
third
so pretty
realm put
fast.
up. Yeah.
All right. Very cool. Excellent. Hey, Jan, this has been good. I mean, we continue to track this space. We've reported on STEPN a couple of times. A lot of people are following the move to earn. I think you guys are definitely one of the, if not the leader out there in the space for sure. So we're definitely watching closely of where this project goes. I can't wait to see some of the things you guys are doing in the future for sure. Going to be watching your roadmap very closely. But thanks again for stopping in the show today. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Paul.
Excellent. All right, so you guys are tuned in
All right.
over on the podcast side right now. Make sure and jump in here on the show on YouTube. And the best thing to do is just search Paul Barron Network. You'll find a lot of our different coverage, TechPath Crypto, which is one of our other shows, and then, of course, here, Metaverse Insider. But also, make sure and like this video. This is one of the ways that we get feedback from you guys to understand what you want to see and listen to on the network, and it really matters. So it's one of those things that we continue to see a lot of videos that do really well, some videos that do kind of average, but we really never know for sure until you guys hit the like button. So make sure and do that, and make sure and subscribe to the channel. If, of course, you want to reach us, you can do that out on Twitter at Paul Barron. I'll catch you next time right here on Metaverse Insider.